This is the end of week 3, and assignment is due in the end of week 4 on Saturday. It means that you need to start on it. And I posted assignment, and I will discuss it today. Before we go into discussion of assignment, I want to talk about small changes in class plan in terms of rearrangement of topics. As promised, I don't move deadline unless it is really necessary, and it will not be it will not be soon, it will be later if it is moved. But the topics, since content is changing, I'm trying to optimize it to teach the most useful things within reasonable time. As previously warned, topics could be rearranged, but deadlines are not moved. It's just if topics are rearranged, it will be just maybe slightly different content of midterm and assignment, but it is still the same area. So, in the next week, I will talk about navigation, and I will explicitly add display list to it because it wasn't in the class plan, but it definitely should be there somewhere at some point. So I added this explicitly. So it was planned, but it wasn't said where. This is different because in week 5, it was saying I think it was state flow, something like that, but it's already explained. State flow is already explained at the introductory level. And it will be revisited with data persistence. So technically, it is state flow revisited and also data persistence. What is data persistence? Storing data that will survive after closing up. So this is what it is. Introduction to data persistence. Originally, it was planned here, introduction to data persistence, but it is quite late. So it's better to talk about this earlier to make more meaningful assignment too. I'm not sure if I will want to put data persistence in assignment 2 yet. It depends really how well it goes. But at least this topic is not straightforward immediately, so it should be talked earlier. This still stays here, adapt to different screen sizes, but it makes more sense after introduction to data persistence. Because when you have different screen sizes, the assumption is that you probably have somewhat fancy app. And if it is somewhat fancy app, you will probably have some kind of either settings or some data survives restart of the app. So it makes sense. Okay? This is definitely not adapt to different screen sizes, definitely not in assignments and not on exam, but it's good to know how to make apps that looks different on different screen sizes and different after rotation of the screen, because dimension of the screen also changes when we rotate, because what was height now it is width or whatever. And also there are foldables when screen size literally changes when we fold and fold. So it's good to know how to deal with it. This requires extra programming effort, and it is tedious because you have different screen sizes. You need to create different layouts for them. So an important part for it is to know how to switch it, right? So this is important part. So this is definitely good if you have some not completely elementary. So it clears some screen with settings, so you have something to adjust. Data store planned what wasn't there explicitly. Data store in particular use it to store user settings, and there are other things. A room, it is for relational databases, locally to app. But this is not relational database, it is storing objects. No, it is storing objects, it is a fancy way, in storing simple data like integers, doubles, strings, it is for user settings. So data storage, it is quite fancy, so it is good to have some introduction to it. And it's also part of the course that I'm referring to. And after this, it goes to Firebase. As promised, 3 weeks before 3 weeks of instructions before assignment 4, posted. It will be posted on week 12, so you have some good overview of it. Unfortunately, it is not part of the Google course I'm referring to, and other things are not in particular, some other things are not in particular part of the course. For example, dependency injection with Hilt. Dependency injections with Hilt will start earlier, most likely even here. I will see. It really depends how it will go. It's either here or this lesson. Okay? Dependency injections with Hilt. So this is a slight reorganization of this idea of the course. So let's go back to content. And I posted link in week 3, I posted link to Math Trainer Android program that was already discussed in class in terms of business logic of it. And I video recorded that discussion. Unfortunately, whoops, sound didn't happen, okay, in that recording. It was an explanation of just business logic. I didn't explain actual GUI for it. Today, we will talk about GUI of this program because it is somewhat similar in logic. I assume that your program will be a lot simpler in assignment 1. Do not try to put hours and hours and hours and hours into the work. But be prepared that it may take far longer than you expect. So start today, essentially. Start today working on assignment. I don't expect that complexity in assignment 1 as here. Where it's coming from? Idea is not mine, okay? And some code copy-pasted, okay? Some code is copy-pasted from Google course I'm referring to. So this is a link to the place where this code is coming from, architecture components. Architecture components, and this is Unit 4. Welcome to Unit 4. Okay? It means they had 3 units before that. Okay? So before we go there, where they are? Unit 1 or Unit 2 is completely covered in class already at even higher level. Unit 1, Unit 2. You can browse through and see. What about Unit 3? This is a good point. In assignment 3, assignment 1, I asked you to study Unit 3, not in terms of like memorizing everything, but just get familiar with it. Okay? So what I started to talk is about Unit 4. Unit 1, Unit 2 completely covered. It's just basic introductions. I want you to study Unit 3, not in terms of memorizing and details, but in terms of ideas. Okay? What is there? What is it about? It's about how to display lists. Definitely we will have example with lists and explain that how to display them. And using material design. Okay? Material design, they just talk about what is material design. They have video lecture, so you just watch it. Short video lecture. And they teach how to use themes in your app. So how to customize the appearance of your app by changing themes. It is quite good introduction. It is hands-on. It is doing together do this, type this, copy paste this, it's not hard to follow. So this is what I want you to go through. At least in getting familiar with it, definitely, you know, that if we want to make app particularly pretty, like for release, it takes time working on just appearance in terms of aesthetics. Definitely, it's not what I'm looking for in your apps, because this is programming course. It's not visual design course, okay? But you need to be familiar how to change appearance using themes, how to change themes in your app. So for this reason, it's mostly talking, and she explains you where to change stuff, okay? In order to change appearance of your app globally, okay? This is useful information, definitely. And after you watch it, I want you to change appearance of your app by changing theme of it, okay? You don't have to change a lot. Just show me that you watched this video and you can apply some knowledge from it, okay? So this is, see, this is covered, more Kotlin fundamentals covered. Build a scrollable list. We will talk about this in the next lesson, but go through. You don't have to type things what they type, just get familiar with it. Because it is necessary background for that, because their beautiful app has a list in it. You cannot really understand that list, that app, without knowing about lists. So build beautiful apps. This one, assume some familiarity with displaying lists. Okay? So for this reason, get familiar with it before watching this one. This is mostly, like, I would say, not mostly, it is very positive lecture. When you watch this one, you will feel energized, your mood will go up, because she is great, okay? Just watch her and you will get lots of energy just from this lecture, okay? So she is teaching this intro to material design with Compose. It is hands-on. Again, you don't have to just repeat your steps if you don't want to. Just get familiar. So you know what to change in your project in order to change appearance globally in your app. Okay? So this is what I want you to do in assignments 1. After you make it work, definitely after, customize default application themes to change appearance of the app. For example, if you don't want to start coding today because you're kind of, not in the mood, or tomorrow, not in the mood, you can watch this one, okay? So it is independent, reasonably independent from your app, what you're going to code. So if you, on some evening, you are not into coding mood, go there and watch videos, okay? So when you need to change appearance of your app, you already know what to change. And definitely do it last. Make it work and do it last in your app. So this is the idea. Unit 3, I assume that you get familiar before next lesson to some degree, because in the next lesson, I will use lists, but I will re-explain lists. But I will likely use themes, but I will not even explain that, because it's a separate file, and if you do not change it, it will still work. It will just look differently. Separate files. So it is kind of sideway issue. And so it's good to know, but definitely making app very visually appealing, like pleasing, it's definitely tedious task and require visual design skills that I don't expect from you. I don't have some artistic skills myself, so, but it's a good idea to know how to change it. Okay. So what is it? Make your app look pleasant. It means reasonable font sizes, reasonable arrangement on the screen. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? Usable, essentially. And when you use it, you don't have to struggle. It is definitely one page, unless you want to do more. Navigation is a topic for next week, and we will learn how to make clickable list. You click on list, and it will open another screen for the pointer that you click it. That happens like in email apps and many other apps. You click on the list item, and it will open details. So this is what I mean. This is where I will combine lists and navigation. We'll have two screens. And some screen, you click on it, it opens another screen. You will have at least two examples for that. And one of them, you click on item on the list, it opens another one. Questions? So what is assignment? What do you need to implement? Guess a number. Okay? So I'd ask you, guess a number between 1 and 10, and you enter something like 3, it says no. Its answer is bigger, you enter 6, it says no, answer is smaller, you enter 4, it says, oh, congratulations, you guessed it. Do you want to play again? Click either play again or no, end. If it's no, it end, otherwise it will be new number. Also maintain counter how many attempts user does before it's guessed. So just to show that you can display extra item of the GUI on the screen besides button and entry, right? You can add any features what you like in addition to this. Just be creative, experiment if you have time. But before you dive into experimentation, make basic stuff work, what is required, commit it, make separate branch for it, like minimal whatever, or create experimental branch for advanced stuff and keep this as a main. So it's your choice. Just don't avoid mistakes that many students do. They try to do everything perfect, and by the deadline, they realize that they did it like only half of it, and it still doesn't work. So do it iteratively, like make it work. Perfect, commit, perfect, commit. So do incremental work. Okay, questions? No.
We can do as many commits we want?
Yeah, your choice. I assume that you do it as any small steps that you want to keep, right? And how to go back if you just want to give up on some steps. I explained this at the previous lesson. It's video recorded. You can go back to any previous step, essentially. Not just to last one that save it, which is very easy. It's a rollback button. Any previous step you can go. It is on video explained at the previous lesson, right in the beginning of the lesson. So what do we have for today? I started explaining tip calculator. We went through two variants of it, and there is a third that I said just clone it and do it, see what it is, and I will explain it next time. I also promised to update all branches to latest library so we don't sit and wait till updates, and I did it. So for this reason, it's a good idea to reclone it because it's very different code. In this sense, it has different libraries, different settings, project settings, and so on. So please, first thing that we will do, we will reclone it because otherwise, it's even different repository. I move it in a different repository, so of course we will have to reclone it. Okay, so it is this one. I did the same update for that. It is even different repository and it just new libraries. I didn't change other things. And it will be next thing to discuss. This has two variants. One doesn't have navigation and one does. It behaves the same. One variant just changing appearance of the screen by replacing compose functions. So it has some simple if in it. So if this shows that, if otherwise shows this. It's definitely one way of dealing with pages without navigation. Navigation is more advanced thing. This is why it is next week. And this hopefully will be explained today. How to have more than one screen without actually doing navigation. And navigation is a system specifically designed for changing screens. Not perfect. There are issues with it. Okay? And this is why the example for adapting to different screen sizes doesn't even use it. Okay? Because it does have issues, especially if you have to deal with different screen sizes. Okay? So this is why it's kind of two-way variants with navigation, without. It's good to know navigation system because it's its default way of doing for large apps, definitely. And Mass Trainer currently doesn't have any navigation, it has only one page. Navigation will come by the next lesson when I will explain it, or next week when I will explain navigation. This is the variant of example from here, architecture components, Unit 4, what I mentioned. In Unit 4, there is a code lab view model and state in compose, right? If you click on this, take a code lab, you will see that their code was generated with, generated with older Android Studio, a couple years old, and what they say, just put it in, it is for that one. Okay? What they tell you, what to add, it is, you see, life cycle, view model, compose, and this line is not even close to what you saw at the previous lesson, right? Totally different. You already know how to add those. It was video recorded, so be careful about this one. And code that it is step-by-step instruction to deal with app that looks like that. And this is what I mean. I didn't create code myself. I just copy-pasted a lot. Okay. So you probably saw, yes, if you attended a couple of lessons before, you saw example with Mass Trainer, right? That it looks exactly the same. Why? I copy-pasted it. Okay. I copy-pasted GUI. I copy-pasted my main ideas, but I changed this to Mass because this has multiple issues. One, they change, pick quite random words, change order of letters, and they expect you to guess. I fail most of the time to guess, so it's not fun. Okay. So if you cannot guess anything, it's not fun to play at all. So it's one of the reasons. Second reason, business logic is quite trivial. So since we're not just learning Android, we're also learning Kotlin, I want to have kind of deeper knowledge of Kotlin. So for this reason, I changed business logic for math problems because it involves more pure Kotlin programming. So, and we already discussed it before, today we will discuss it again. So it was double thing. One more thing, you will see, they put most of the business logic in view model itself. They just hard-coded that directly in view model functions. Bad idea, because they tell, this is about architecture. It is, this unit is called architecture, blah, blah, blah. And they teach you to separate business logic in architecture guide, right? You saw. But they put most of the business logic directly in view model, and it looks kind of really entangled. I tried to clean up this code by rearranging this, because definitely I have different problem, but still if business logic is directly inside of view model, it makes those functions larger and harder to follow. Although I cleaned this up in math problem before, math trainer before, it still looked unpleasant, I would say. So yesterday in the evening, I worked it and tried to move it out as much as possible, business logic as much as possible from view model. So this code is really different from what we cloned before in this course. So because I moved a lot of business logic away from view model. So view model is a lot simpler now. Okay? And it will be changed later as well, because I will make a variant that stores what you do in local database to explain the local database. Okay? Not with words, with numbers. Okay, it's easier. I will go through that code with that variant today. Okay? But we will clone it to see older project, how it looks like, as instructions. So if you encounter older projects like created with Android Studio 2 years ago, so it's not scary, because all the examples were created 2 years ago. All right? So we will clone it to see what is there, how libraries are linked to the project. It looks different. It doesn't look like what we have now. So for this reason, it is easier to recognize code which is about 2 years old. And if I see this code in your assignment, I will ask questions. Why? Okay? Because I expect you to create projects from scratch. So this is about, we will clone this in class just to see how it looks like. Okay? And I will explain in more details my variant, which is nearly the same, but with different business logic, because it's about numbers. Okay? 2 plus 2 is not to guess a word, obviously. So let's reclone tip calculator, and we have one variant of the code which is not explained. After this, we will go to paper, rock, or scissors. It has 2 variants, one with navigation, one without. I will explain without navigation, because it's using view model, but no navigation. Okay? And after this, we will go to clone the example, see briefly what is in, to get familiar with structure of folder project. So it's not scary if we open another, because we have to refer to their course. So, and if we directly download their code, it will look 2 years old. Okay? And after this, we will open this one, and hopefully I will have time to explain it. Okay? I will reorganize business logic when we use settings, because now settings are just hard-coded in it. When we learn how to store settings, I definitely have to move it from hard-coded to saved settings. So it will be reorganized because of it. Also, dealing with local database requires dealing with delays, because creating query, receiving data involves starting separate task. So, and this is unfortunate feature of what actually unavoidable feature of storing data elsewhere outside of your app, like local database, which is hard drive essentially, or of Android. And we need to deal with delays, and this will also is the reason why I introduced persistence earlier, because persistence, like saving data, does involve delays to save and retrieve data. So it is the actual reason why it is introduced earlier, like even before midterm. Okay. Dealing with delays is tricky, somewhat. So let's do it. Let's clone it, because it's different. It's even different repository. Previous address was this: tip calculator without fault 25. So it's different address. And let's clone it. So with my Android Studio, here it is. Clone repository, Command V. And, am I right? Yeah. Clone. I didn't change anything except updating version numbers. So it is the same code for this part. I changed library version numbers in all 3 branches, and I move it to separate. I post it into separate repository. Now I add year when term when I teach to the name, so it's easier for me to see where it is old code, where it's not. Because otherwise I ended up with tip calculator 1, tip calculator 3, who knows when it was done. Okay? All right, so it's still building. Let's wait. Okay. In terms of branches, now I have, this is default one, and I created branch, in the previous version, like last time you saw, it was branch week 3 lesson 2 and start, and week 3 lesson 2 ends, something like that. I decided, okay, let's go more generic. No view model and simple view model. And main, which all features, because who knows when next time when it is taught, it's maybe
So
week
it's the
3.
same code we did last
It is the same code, I just renamed it branches. Okay. Previously it was week 2 lesson 2 starts, week 2 lesson 2 ends, something. Week 3 lesson 2 starts, lesson 2 ends. Now it is. A no view model is explained at the previous lesson exactly, no difference. A simple view model also explained. What I just move it state holders as separate variables to view model. What is not explained is using state object inside of view model and state flow. We use it state flow in a dice roller example with only one dice. And we saw it in fancy example, what I rewrote one dice with multiple dice. Right? But we didn't see state flow in tip calculator. Okay? So this is not explained, and it is in main. So I don't need to switch branch. By default, it goes to main. Okay? So let's run it to make sure it works. This example does remember state during rotation because data is stored in view model. And when it rotates, we can still scroll and see screen. It does not rearrange screen. It is just dealing with different screen sizes by scrolling, essentially. Better ways to create different layouts for different screens. But first of all, we didn't learn how to do it. Second, it is tedious. It is just extra work for creating separate layout. Okay. So it is scrollable, so when we rotate, it doesn't fit the screen, but we can still scroll. Maybe not the best choice, but yeah, it works. So let's see what we have inside. In UI, I have only one layout. It is here in calculator. IPP root screen. As before, contains about dialog. Last time when I looked for this icon, I couldn't find it in Android Studio. I assume they replaced it with something else. In your assignment, I asked you to display about dialog by creating button in the toolbar. Just using the icon, essentially. That possibly makes sense, because I couldn't find question mark. It appears they removed this icon. Okay, you can copy-paste it from this project. It will work if you copy-paste, but probably it's not a good idea. So browse for icons, pick something that could be logical to it. Okay, just doesn't have to be question mark. And I showed you last time how to pick it. It's not difficult. Or just copy-paste question mark from this project. It appears like this is gone. Right? The same I have about dialog before, and scaffold contains toolbar and calculator body. No change. Calculator body refers to view model. In some example, view model, oh no, this is state. View model is passed from app root screen. Am I right? Yeah. I call it for view model function, and I assign it to it and pass it. A warning from Google. They told us do not pass view model more than once. as parameter. Because passing this as a parameter down, down, down the chain makes program less and less efficient. So this is what they say, they tell explicitly. Yeah, it is fine to pass it as a parameter, but do not do it more than once. If you do it twice, it will still work. 3 times it will work, but with every step, it is less and less efficient program. So I stick to once, okay, as a recommend. Or none, another choice. Okay, so as this is just working, I forgot to tell you last time. You can pass view model as a parameter like that, but their recommendation not more than once. But it will work if you do more. It is less efficient. All right, so and the rest of the program, view model goes to calculate a body, and calculate a body picks UI state from view model. You see, I'm using collector state. At the previous lesson, we learned that collector state is conversion from state, from state flow to state. Why? Because state flow cannot trigger update of the screen. But update of this variable needs to trigger update of the screen. So for this reason, we need to convert state flow into state. This is calculator. This would be state object. But this is not state. Why? Because it's by. This is wrapped in state object. This is not, because this is just regular class. It's not Android specific. It is just data class. We need by to delegate setter and getter to this state object, because state object triggers update of the screen, not this piece. Remember, we had states storing integer, and we delegated from int to that state object using by. By it is delegation. The same as here. We need state object. It is state wrapper around this data. This is just data class, although it is called state. So this is representation of what I have on the screen. It is data for the screen, pure data on the screen. And it is wrapped in state object to trigger update. So let's see what is inside of this part, UI state. It is just pure data class that keeps service cost, service quality, tip amount as round up tip as Boolean, and tip amount and bill total shown here. Please notice that this data class has val. It means immutable. You cannot change it. Once you create it, you cannot change it. But we do need to change state somehow, right? Because it did screen, so we have to change state. Remember that in order to trigger update of the screen, we need to reassign to it, right? Because we cannot trigger update of the screen unless we assign all data to the container. Okay? So changing just part of it does not make sense. We really have to have reassignment. Even if we change part of it, we'll still have to assign the object again to state. Okay? Also, dealing with immutable objects like this provides extra consistency when we deal with tasks, because Android program runs in parallel, even if we do not write parallel code. This code is not parallel. You don't see things that's typical to parallel coding, right? But update of the GUI goes in parallel. And this is a feature of Compose. All right? So in order to stay consistent with data, to have consistency for the data, things that should be in sync, it's better to keep stuff together like this. That should be in sync. It's a recommendation. Again, it's a recommendation from Google, but it's not like fundamentalist religion. Okay? Apply common sense. Okay. It is possible to end up with inconsistent data if you have fancy code with lots of variables. You update one and another one is updated, but it's not it is done concurrently, in parallel. So on the screen, you may end up with inconsistent data. So recommendation is to wrap it into object, but don't go religiously with it. Because even Google doesn't follow it all the time. They do, but not 100%. Just apply common sense. Okay. In this example, I go religiously. I wrap it everything in one object. In example that with math example, I have two state variable. One is a wrapper and one it is separate. In this case, this one is this flag, I believe, in view model, but it is separate because it is logically separate piece. It doesn't have to go within the same object. So, and this is unlikely to go into conflict with this data, right? It's totally separate. So, treat it as a recommendation. It's not religion, okay? So, wrap in data that should be consistent together in objects. But if you have totally separate logical piece, yeah, it's fine. Keep it separate. All right? Questions? So I have state flow in view models that is storing objects of this kind. So let's see. A view model has mutable state flow storing UI state. And I have public and private. Private is mutable. Public is immutable, referring to the same object. Why? Because this data is owned by view model. So it should be changed only by methods of view model, not from outside. So UI cannot assign data to this because it's private. And it cannot assign data to this one. Like assign this to this one because it's immutable. State flow, you cannot put data of this. You can display from it. Right? Since it's state flow, it does not trigger update of the screen. This is why I turn it to collect flow, state flow, collect that one as state to create state objects that will trigger update of the screen. Now, what do I have here? When we type stuff or change these things, I need to change state. Right? So what do I do? We can do UI state data, UI state dot value and assign directly. And it works. Fine. And other examples do it. You saw it before. In class, we did UI state variable, state flow variable, mutable state flow variable, dot value and assignment. You will see it today in math example. I do direct assignment. Or we can do update function. How update works? Update is taking lambda function, and this is current state, current content of state flow. It gives you update, gives you parameter to your lambda function that is current content. And you create new content. Okay. What is the last in this function? It is return value, this one. Last element in lambda function, it is return value unless you do not return anything. It will be just ignored. So what do? I recalculate tip amount. This is before, right? Before tip, I pick this from the state. I calculate new tip amount, and I call copy. Copy function is available only for data classes. So, and this is super useful because when you copy data class using copy function, you provide only parameters that are different. So you don't, if data class is large, you provide only parameters by name that you need to change. It will create a copy of everything, but you need to specify only items that you need to change. So copy does make a copy, because otherwise you cannot change your immutable class, you just need to create new one. And when you do call copy, you provide only things that you need to change. In this case, I'm changing roundup tip.
So this is copying the data class calculator UI state?
Yes. Calculate the UI state, you see, calculate the UI state is stored in it, and it starts with default value by default constructor. See, this is default value. Okay. This is calculate the UI state, and it is copying that with new data. Bill before tip. Why it is different, bill before tip? It is different because it is stored as different data type. Bill before tip, it is conversion from string, this is string, to double, because it needs a different data type. So it's not really...
Yeah, because in the data class, the service call cost is the string.
Yeah, but I don't understand why it is, why I'm overriding this in new roundup tip. It doesn't appear like it's necessary. Because it is the same. If I type something here, it's definitely will be on change of service cost. In this case, I do need bill before tip, which is service cost. Okay? But why do I need when I do this? I assume it's a bug. Not a bug, it's just inefficiency. Okay? So most likely this is, let's try to remove it and see. I needed to calculate it here, you see? It is not needed here, but it's needed here because bill total is changing. I do need this variable here, but I don't need it here because it is the same. No?
No, that's
I do need to calculate tip. Why? Yes, I do need to calculate tip, so it is right. I need bill total to calculate tip because it is % of total. So it was right. Yeah, good. Okay. So I just needed to calculate tip. But why do I need this here? I do need it here, but why is it here? To calculate tip, yes, right. Because this is calculate tip function, it's not copy function. It is here, it's correct. So this is how I'm dealing with this one. On roundup tip change. Okay, on service cost change. Idea is the same. I do need this one because it's causing the calculation of tip. Okay, so the same logic. New tip amount, calculate tip function call. State copy, only things that I change it. So I'm not changing this, obviously, I'm changing this. Right? Are you with me? And service cost, it is this one. Okay? And service quality, it is this one. So I'm changing to new service quality, new tip amount, and new bill total, because total is updated when I click this. And this is bill before tip. It is conversion from string, because it is coming as a string, to actual value, which is double. And it's still dealing with strings. If you type something that is not a number, it will treat it as 0. So value will become null if it's not convertible to double. So this is the logic. And GUI is now dealing with not 3 values, but with one value, one object that is stored in UI state. So it is just minor rewrite. Data is coming from this data object. OK? Questions? One tricky part. So let's see. I'm calling a function that is calculate tip. It is imported from domain calculate tip. And this is just regular function. I'm lucky that this function gets everything from view model. It doesn't, it's not connected to other things because we don't need it. This is potential issue for complicated projects. So sometimes we need to connect some business logic that also has dependencies. We already talked about it, right? So this is business logic. And business logic potentially can have dependencies and how to create dependencies for a function. This is a trick. Google recommends to create use case functions that actual objects. So in that case, it is creating, even if it is function, it is created as an object that contains a function. So I'm avoiding this step here. Okay. Google has example for tip calculator, and it is earlier in the course, even before view model, so it was calculated directly in GUI, how it was simplest version of this code, like simplest without view model. Okay. They didn't have radio buttons. They do have text inputs, and I'm not sure about roundup tip. Does it have it there or not? I forgot. Okay. Questions? It is just, you can download it and see it at the beginning of the course. I think it has 2 text inputs. Tip amount, tip percent, it is entered, and a bill total is entered. Questions? Now, if no questions, clone another project. That is more interesting because it has slightly fancier logic and it has changing of the screen. So it does appear like with flip pages in it. It is similar to a tip calculator because it has radio buttons in it. So let's do that. I will close this part. And week 3 has link to rock, paper, scissors. Images are not XML. If we compare images from dice roller, they are XMLs. In this case, they are PNGs because PNG format because I didn't find SVG to convert it into XML. So you can display PNG format the same way. And you import it the same way as we did before. We learned how to import resource in one of the previous lessons. So I did exactly the same. I imported PNG images as a resource. So let's clone it. Clone repository the same way. Rock, paper, scissors. Trust project. And main function contains navigation. So after it imports, we will switch to branch without navigation. Okay, but first let's see what it does. I'm running it. Let's wait here. Let's wait. Okay, rock, paper, scissors. All right. So this button plays disabled until we check something. So it's also showing how to disable button. Okay. So selecting scissors. Now this is enabled. This is the same logic to pop-up dialog. I selected it, and please notice it's not clickable just this. I made this clickable. Okay. And panel has on-click itself. Row doesn't have. So click in row different from click in panel, because panel itself has on-click parameter, on-click function. But so slide click on this item is handled somewhat differently from clicks in service quality selection. You can do it directly with radio button, on click of radio button, but that way you really have to point here. In this case, you can do on the panel. So this is, I believe it's called panel. We'll see, okay? I forgot the name of it. And when we play, it appears like a sweeping page, but it's not. Okay? It's an imitation. What is the difference between this imitation and actual navigation? When you use navigation system, this will take you to previous page. Back. It is back button of the device itself. With navigation of system, it probably will take you to previous page unless you remove history manually in your code, pop history. Okay? Because what it does, it is popping history. And when you do flip of the pages with calling different compose function, it does not add anything to the history. So if you click this one, it will pop this page out of history, so you'll be out of your app. No? Why? Because this version is using navigation. Okay? So it's a demo. Simplest version is not using navigation. And in that case, it will pop out of your app. So this behavior is different. Okay?
Like the previous examples, suppose we use the...
All previous examples that we had will take you out of your app.
It will break the code?
It will not break the code. It will take you out of app, like this. You see, it's gone. Okay? So if you click on it on any other previous example, it will just take you out of the app. It's not breaking code. This is something that comes almost free with navigation system. Back button takes you to previous screen. It's not necessarily what you want, actually, because it does not keep the data what you want to display on it. It is just bring you previous layout. So you really have to take care of the data, because it will keep the layout, but maybe data is not available anymore. Maybe you deleted the data already. So it's not necessarily what you want, but it may be helpful, like here. So this is with navigation. It takes you, back button takes you to previous screen. And now, let's switch to the version that I want to explain first without navigation, because it's also useful. No navigation. All right? So check out and see how it behaves. The same, except back button. Okay. Since this is likely using different libraries, yes, it is, so we need to synchronize it by clicking elephant. Okay, now it is synchronized, so let's run it and see what it does. Looks the same. Rock, play, ta-da, this is what I mean. Okay? Because when we use navigation system, back button comes almost for free. We don't need to write much of the code. When we don't use it, we can still access it, but we'll have to write code to make it work. So this is one of the obvious differences, and of course, code inside of somewhat different. So let's see what we have. I have a data. So this is my business logic, game service. In the domain, I have enumerator to simplify logic inside. It is a choice, right? Paper, rock, scissors, or unknown. So it starts with unknown. So when it is unknown, it disables, when user choice is unknown, a button becomes disabled. So this is how I made it. It will change user choice on click of the button, on what you click. Otherwise, if initial is unknown, and I have if to disable button when user choice is unknown. Okay? So it is to force user to select something. Next, a game result. It is outcome. User wins, computer wins, replay or unknown. Game result is unknown when user choice is unknown. So I'm initializing game result right away. So I need to have some flag for it. Okay? So I'm using enumeration type to simplify business logic, so I don't have to remember is 1, 2, 3 what it means. So it is essentially flag variables. Next. Okay. What do I store in state? I also have another enumeration that is a destination. Okay. I just call it a destination. Either play page or result page. So it's also flag. Which of the pages to show. You don't need to do it if you use navigation system, because navigation system has own means of dealing with it. So it is just brute force approach to select page. Okay. Now, what is the state? In my case, it is not the state of a page, it is the state of the app, because I don't have navigation system. In this case, so first parameter, which page to show, because it's the state of the app, right? It is destination. Second, user choice. It's also state of it, right? Computer choice and result. So it is not per page. We can create states per page. In this case, we will store them in view models per page. So every page has own view model, which is OK. It works. Unfortunately, view models per page, if we create it this way, will stay global. They will be per page, but they will be global. Good and bad. What is bad about it? They are not discarded when you go away from the page. So it hogs memory, and if some task is started, it will still run, which is less than efficient, right? When you left the page, you started something to display on it, give me data, you already left the page, but it's still trying to get the data. So if we deal with view models as we know now, we can have them per page, but they're not discarded. In order to create view models that are discarded when we navigate, at least potentially discarded. It's not guaranteed, but potentially could be discarded. We have to use hill dependency injection system that we will learn later. Okay? In this case, you have only one view model that is global. If we have more than one, they will be global anyway, if we deal it with this way. So what do we have? We need to implement. Let's game view model, what it is. Okay. Mutable state flow. I'm initializing with default constructor of game UI state, and default constructor you saw what it was, play page, unknown, unknown, unknown. This is my business logic. And again, this business logic doesn't have any dependencies. So in this case, it's easy. If dependencies do exist, we somehow need to pass it into view model that makes it more complicated. Right? Now, we will look into business logic next, but first let's see what we have. This is on play button. Okay. If user choice is unknown, you cannot do anything. So nothing is done when it is equal to unknown. So I do this if only when it is not unknown. So user selected something. Right? Next, I'm creating computer choice, get random choice from game service. This will give me paper, rock, or scissors. Okay? But for the computer. And now I need to update state. Copying existing state, assigning computer choice because I made the selection for the computer. Getting game result by calling game service, get game result. In order to get game result, I need to give user choice and computer choice because the result is calculated from 2. Right? So this will be game result, and I'm changing destination to result. That will flip the page. Okay? On replay, what happens? On replay, I'm just changing destination. It will remember user choice. Why? Because I'm changing destination. If I want to wipe up user choice, I will have to assign user choice unknown. That easy. But in this case, I just decided, okay, I will keep user choice. As for fun, we can add user choice unknown here, and you will see that it will be unselected. All right? So this is on replay. It's a button on the result. Then on user choice change, this is the implementation of radio buttons, because when we click on radio buttons, we need to update state. Right? So what do we update? We update user choice, right? This is user choice of what was clicked. And we assign it, do copy of the state, and overwriting is just user choice, nothing else. Okay? And as you see, show help, it is totally separate from your game state, because it's logically different thing, right? I still decided to store it inside of view model. Yeah, why not? To show it we can, if we want to. So it doesn't have to be in GUI variable, state variable, like before. In this case, it's view model. But it's not a religion, not fundamental, maybe religion, but not fundamentalist one. So we have freedom. Okay? So I decided to store show help state outside of this UI state, what I assign. It's unlikely it will go into any conflicts with business logic stored in UI state, right? Because it's separate logic for pop-up dialog. Okay. So this is when we click on this, it will change, or on corner, it will change show help. When we click outside of it, or on dialog button, okay, it will close it. It is the same logic from previous examples, I just copy-pasted it. It is just showing that we can do it in view models if we want. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, remember, savable inside of Google. All right. So let's look inside of GUI and have a break after that. And break probably like in 10 minutes, okay? So it will be close to midpoint of the lesson. So next. APP root screen, it is this one, mentioned from activity as before. I try to stay consistent so it's quicker to explain. So APP root screen is inserted into theme of the app as before, and it is here, APP root screen. I go to view model, game UI state, it is state flow, and I'm converting state flow to state to trigger, to get state object. That will trigger update of the screen. This is state that is storing UI state. So it's different type. This is game UI state, but this is state containing game UI state. This variable is delegating set getter to here. Why it is only getter? Because it's val. You cannot delegate setter with val. Right? Val means you can only see it. You cannot assign anymore. It's when it is already assigned. And it is assigned once. So now I do switch. When it is like a switch in other languages, if destination is play, I'm showing play screen. How to get rid of this thing? When destination is result, I'm showing the result screen. And I'm picking data from UI state. You see UI state user choice. On user choice change, I'm calling on user choice change function from view model. I'm not using dot. As you see, I'm using double call. A dot means call function from view model directly as method. But type of on user choice change is lambda function. So I'm converting method into lambda function. In double column, it is conversion from method to lambda function. Types of parameters in return type must be the same. Otherwise, conversion will be error. It will not convert. Right. Then, the same. On play button, I'm calling play from view model. And on help button click, I'm replacing entire screen, including toolbar on the top. This is why I need on help in each screen, on this and in this, because I'm replacing toolbar. Although it looks the same, but it's just different part of the screen I'm replacing. Speaking about replacing toolbars, if toolbar contains different messages on different screen, it is a lot easier just to replace toolbar. Because if you keep toolbar on the screen but replace what is below, you still need to trigger message in the toolbar. So it is extra work. So it is easier to replace entire screen if you have just toolbar on top. If you need to update toolbar, obviously. In this case, I do, because I have different message on toolbar. And on result, I have result screens and user choice, the same computer choice, game result to be displayed, on replay to call replay function from view model, and I'm changing destination. No, it is already changed. Destination is changed in view model. And I also have on open help, because it's just different toolbar. Okay. And this is popping up dialog when show help in view model is true. All right. So let's, 4 minutes. Let's look inside of, for example, destination play. It is the most interesting one because output is just plain text stuff. No, some images, I believe, right? But this is more interesting because it has radio buttons. It is play screen. So I have play screen, result screen. I decided to create separate packages just to keep organized, keep the code organized. play screen. And this is called lambda function, call it on play. And so remember, I had to convert method of view model into lambda function because I'm expecting this lambda function type. This call it on help, and this is user choice, and this is what to do when user choice change. Okay, changes. I do have separate scaffold, so toolbar is a part of it. So this is top bar at the top. This is this different messages. Messages are different. This is on help click, and I'm passing scroll behavior because in this example, toolbar false when we scroll. Floating action button. I do have button here like check mark. It means here I selected play. So it is just duplicating play. It is calling on play, that floating action button, and icon it is check mark, I believe. Yes, check mark. And string resource will be used by screen readers, so it will. Okay. And this is how Android Studio displaying string resources, just so you know what it is. But when you click on it, it will be string resource name. Okay. Modifier for scaffold is stretch to entire screen, and this is to let it know that we have a scrolling inside of it. In the portion which is inside, right, besides toolbar and checkmark button, it's floating action button that contains check. I have a column that contains label at the top, make your choice, user choice input with the radio buttons. User choice input that contains panels, right, and panels and radio buttons in it. And I have button below, play button that has label play and icon on it, check mark. Okay. User choice, since I need to receive something selected, so I need to know what to select. It is the user choice to be shown. So user choice is hoisted out of this input function, so it's stored outside. So I need to provide information what to show and what to do when I click on it. So this is on change. So when I click on something, it needs to propagate out. Data should go out. So this is lambda function. So let's see what happens in user choice. Here it is. It is column, spaced by. This is, remember, we had different arrangements, discussion, and this is arrangement when we have gaps, equal gaps in between. So it is top to bottom, yeah, with the equal gaps. I have select option, select option, select option. That will include this panel with icon, radio button, and label. Okay. This is what to be displayed, choice. This is what to do. No, this is to mark if it is selected or not. So this will be selected if user choice is equal to rock. So it is passed to radio button to make it selected. And it's also passed to code that makes frame of the around image of different color. So let me show. So this selected true false is used in two places. This, and it's also changing color of the frame around this image. And on click, this what will happen when we click on it. So it is calling lambda function this lambda function, that is calling another lambda function on change passing this. I do have lambda function inside of another lambda function because it's different type. This lambda function does not take any parameters, but this requires parameter. So in order to call another lambda function, I have to do it in this. Okay. On change, and it passing rock when I click on this selection option. So it is the same code repeated 3 times with different data. Select option for paper to be selected when choice is equal to user choice is equal to paper, and this is for scissors. Okay. So let's look inside of select option. In the select option, we have row, logically, right? That contains 3 pieces. Something related to image, choice to image, radio button directly, and text. Okay. Where is my card? Ah, here it is. This is card. And on click is handled by card in this case. This is why for radio button on click is null, because it's already done by card. So card itself has on click, but not row. Remember, for row, we had to handle click using modifier. But card itself has option on click. Okay. This makes card. And when it is selected, I change elevation of it. So you see, when I click on it, it also pops up. So selected is also used to make it appear up. Pop it. So it is in 3 places. To select radio button, to change frame around it to different color, and to make it appear popped up. Okay. This is changing frame around image, this one color. Choice to image is just inserting image for given choice. So I have it somewhere here. No, it's not here because it is in common. I have it on 2 pages. About dialog, convert. What's this? Yes, the choice to string, because I need to display different messages depending on the choice. I use just when. Result to string, because user wins needs to have different message from other things. So it is conversion of what to display depending on situation of the result, and this is choice to image. For this choice, I'm picking different different resources. I also have a function choice to resource ID. That P has choice input and picking resource ID. So this is similar logic to dicing, because I need to select different resources depending on the choice. Different resource depending on the choice. So this picking resource, painter resource, go to painter. And this is image. Image takes painter to insert that resource. And this is content description. Okay. Although, as you see, although it's not super complicated in terms of logic, yeah, it does require some code to write. Okay. So it means for your assignment, give yourself lots of time. In case something goes wrong, you're stuck with simple, stuff that look at simple first, or you didn't allocate time, but it requires time. Of course, in your assignment, I don't expect bells and whistles with everything. You just need to show that you can code and do reasonable changes on the screen. It doesn't have to be elaborated like something is changing color when you touch it or something. Okay? Play with bells and whistles when it works. This definitely required days to do. It's not one evening work. At least for me, I'm not like super great on this. I'm just reasonable. Okay, I did it from scratch, but what I didn't explain, well, I will do it in after break. So let's selection or game service logic. I didn't explain it yet, so we will look at this after a break. So let's have a break now. And I will explain this after break, and we will go into math example logic. That is quite long. So I will stop recording. We're restarting after break. Before break, I went through GUI, basic ideas how it was done. Explaining line by line, it doesn't really make sense. It is mostly straightforward in terms of one composed function inside of another composed functions. And trying to do every line, I tend to forget what was explained like 10 minutes ago immediately. So it's probably a better idea just to look up things what you need from the GUI. I explain it basic logic, how it is done, but every line, it's self-explanatory, essentially. Business logic is slightly trickier. It is pure Kotlin, definitely. It's not GUI. So I created game service to implement business logic. Since it has some randomization, I have a parameter random, which is set to random default for testing repeatability. Okay. So I created choices. It is a list of choice. Choice, it is paper, rock, or scissors, or unknown. But in order to pick random, it shouldn't be unknown out of in random choice, right? So for this reason, I need to create a list which is doesn't have unknown inside. So choice entries will be array created from enumerator, paper, rock, scissors, unknown. So I slice it to drop unknown in the end, so I will have only paper, rock, or scissors left. So this is choices is done to run random number generation and select something which is not unknown, okay, for computer choice. So here it is. Get random choices, run random out of this array. List has a method random to select random path. And I pass random number generator to make it repeatable when we test. So it will be the same sequence of choices. So this is how I implemented random choice for computer. Enumerator has data field entries that gives me a list. I'm not sure, array of list, probably list. And yes, list, it says list. This range does not include unknown. Okay. How do I get game result? In order to get the game result, I need to use computer choice and user choice, right? And I use enumeration names to make it more transparent. Right? So I use when and another when inside. How to read it? When user choice is rock, for example, user choice rock, and computer choice is scissors, game result, user wins. Since when is returning value, I have two wins, one inside of each other, another one. This will return user wins, and this part will return user wins assigned to game result. This is shortcut for a function. Right? If function contains only one piece, you don't need to create curly braces with return statement, you just can assign what is inside of return directly to the function. So this is how I implemented business logic for it. And in unknown, it is in case is unknown, but it's not really used. Okay. I have to use add unknown for the else, because otherwise it will be error message. I have to go through all choices, and all choices contains unknown. Okay, so I have to put else. Okay. Or if I put else instead of this, it will be fine, but it will be less transparent that it is scissors. So I decided not to do it. So game result is unknown if one of the choices is unknown. Yeah, obviously, logical, right? If one of the choices is unknown, result is unknown. So it makes sense. Although it's not used in the program itself, but in this logic it makes sense. So this is how it is implemented. What is here? It is just display of game. It is just displaying of the state. There is no input here. There is only one click button. It is this one. Right. So it will change destination in UI state to back to play. Right. You see, this is different, and also this is different, right? This behavior is the same as that. So toolbar is indeed not the same because label is different and I have back button. It is possible to update existing toolbar on the screen during navigation, but it is trickier because you need to trigger update of this toolbar when you trigger this. Google does have example for it. Messy, don't do it. They have only one example for it, and other examples just don't do it. Okay. They have one example where they replace stuff here, but keeps the same toolbar, but still trigger update of toolbar from navigation system. So there is a way to trigger it from navigation system. Is that example in navigation section of the course I'm referring to. All right, I assume this is mostly clear. Browse through the code, play with it. It's not fancy. It is in terms of logic, in terms of bells and whistles like GUI, yes, it's a little tedious because I change it elevation, I change it frame around color of the frame, this kind of stuff. This is definitely a good candidate to display list. For example, history of games, right? So in the next lesson, we will have a navigation, we'll have lists. So for example, I'll create history of another page with history, and it will be history of games, right? With clear button. When you click clear, it will disappear. History disappears. It's also good candidate for local database because we can store history in local database. So history will not disappear when we close up. So I plan to reuse it. That code does not exist, but I can do it in 1 evening or 2 evenings. Okay. So I will add code to it in order to explain databases. Example from Google for databases is quite long and messy. I will quickly introduce it. It's not just quite long and messy, it is also logically stupid, sorry. Logically in terms of, not in terms of programming logically, but in terms of application. They have inventory app where all data is in local database for the device and no way to export it in any sense. Who would ever store inventory of products on local database of one device that could be lost, obviously, and it's not exportable in any sense out of it. You cannot take the data out of it. So it is definitely them. It's not practical in any sense. Right? So for local database, we will quickly look into that. And if you really into that, go through the code. They have an example, the club to go through. But in terms of practical sense, it's not really a great application. Even history of paper or scissors makes more sense. Because, okay, if it is local for the app, yeah, if it is lost, who cares about history of paper or scissors, right? Or history of dice rolls. If it's lost, who cares? But if it is inventory, doesn't make sense. Okay, anyway. So I plan to revisit this one, and I'll also plan to revisit math example where answers also stored in local database and displayed as a list. Okay. Also, for that example, for math example, it's also good idea to have it for different screen sizes, because example from Google for different screen sizes, it is hard-coded emails example. Okay. It's imitation of email program where all emails are just hard-coded as text in the program itself. It's also not sensible in real-life applications, because in this case, all text is hard-coded, and also logic of the program cannot be really transferred, because when we have email system, we need to ask for the data elsewhere. So we would have to start concurrent tasks. So it is changing the logic of it. So although it does provide a lot of useful information, it's still, in practical sense, it's not really great. So I plan to use math for it. Okay. That is really long and tedious. And this is why it is last week before midterm, and it's not on the midterm. But good to know. Next. Let's wrap with this one. So I stop it, and I will close this one. And next, let's clone math example. Math trainer example. Please clone it, because this is in different place. It is different repository, and I changed it a lot since we saw last time. In terms of business logic, I changed it not a lot. I added a lot. I didn't change much. I added a lot. Clone repository, Command V, and clone. Oh, I already have it here. Okay, I will change it to in class. Oops. I already have in class. Advanced. And clone. Trust project. I don't know what it is. It is most likely it will resolve itself. Okay, let's see. Okay, I will try to synchronize it. Most issues are resolvable by just synchronize button. Seems like it's built. So let's see what it does quickly. And after this, I will chat about business logic of it, and we will go into GUI. I changed the number of problems to 5, so it is quick to reach the end, so we don't have to go through multiple steps. So this is how it looks. And if we compare to Google example, we will see that I copy-pasted most of it in terms of GUI. You see? I added toolbar and help button here, but GUI looks the same. What is really different, it is business logic, because it's not guess a word anymore. I didn't like this guess a word because I cannot guess them. Because they pick a word which is not necessarily a simple one and randomize letter orders, and if I can guess only 2 words out of 10, yeah, it's not a fun. It's not a fun adventure. So I changed this to math, and at least there is a chance to do something logic. Okay? And since it's math, I have a more complicated approach than randomizing order of letters. So business logic is fancier because I need to generate some sensible problems that could be done, not just, okay? And comparing to previous code that we saw, now it has multiplication and division problems. So it's not just addition, subtraction, it's also have multiplication and division. Since we have 4 kinds of problems, I separated business also in subcategories. Previously it was 1 factory, now it is 4 factories because we have 4 of them. Previously I combined this into 1 factory because it was just only 1 if, flip it with Boolean, random variable. So if it is true, it was addition. If it is false, it was multiplication or subtraction. Now it is 4 categories. So I decided to have 4 factories. Also, when I have 4 factories, later we will have an easier way to do settings, because generation of addition problem, parameters of addition problem is not the same as parameters of multiplication problem, right? So we can have a settings for difficulty. And if we have different factories, it will be easier to deal with settings for difficulty. So this example is good candidate for user settings stored on the device. What kind of check marks, what kind of problems you want to include? Multiplication, division, whatever. So you have a check marks or switches in the settings of the program. So it's a good candidate to explain settings. And also good candidate to display list, like list of problems. So it's not just only 1 problem on the screen, but store it as a list. And also good candidate to store this in local database, so when you close up and you open it, you can work on the same problems. So if something is answered, you can leave it and answer, not answer it. So this is has potential for future. All right, so let's look. Now I want to stop it. And I want to clone the example to compare library settings. I already mentioned before that older library files look different from newer library files. So when you generate project now, it looks different from 2 years old project. So let's clone their project and for sake of comparison that library paths. Okay. Where to get their code? They have, it is a lab where they start with some code and add with some other code by copy-pasting or by typing. It is not difficult to do this lab because it tells you exactly what to do without thinking. Right? So I click Get Solution Code, and this is the address. You see git clone up to here. I click Get Solution Code. Copy. And since I want side-by-side comparison, I want to keep this one, right, on the screen. So I go to File, New, Get from Version Control. Command V, and we can keep all their name if we want. unscrabble, blah, 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 and clone. Okay? And definitely separate window, new window, because we want to compare, not the same window. Okay. Open project, new window, trust project. Hopefully it will work. So let's wait. It did work in summer, so it should be. Sometimes it takes time to, to build, so let's wait just. I believe main, if I remember correctly, main branch, it is a finished one. So we don't have to switch branch. Do not run start, do not do it, because this will be slow. Don't do it. We already got experience since previous lesson. When we run at AGP, it may be slow. Okay, don't click on start AGP. If it works, we won't update. Don't. Okay, just wait. I will close this one, and let's see what kind of files we have. This was created with new Android Studio. So when I open Kotlin Java and, Gradle scripts, and I open Gradle scripts here. Okay. I have one global for project. This is per module, and I also have lib versions .ml. They have per project, per module, and they don't have lib versions .ml. These files makes great difference because it defines aliases used in these two. These two do not use aliases. This is why the files look different. So let's open their global one. Okay? They have plugins and IDs and names of the plugins and versions of the plugins, you see? Now let's open this global one. It has aliases, you see? Not even close. Can we switch from this to that? Not easy. I tried, it's possible, but you need to restart Android Studio after you change it, change some not obvious places, but it's possible. Easiest way to create new project and copy paste. This is definitely easiest. Okay? So this is global. This is how it was. This is how it is. It's referring to aliases, not even close. And version numbers are directly in these files because they don't have .ml that has version numbers and aliases. Also, when we go here, we have aliases at the top and aliases mentioned like that. So when we go to APP, they have IDs, so they are strings, not aliases, and they have strings here, not aliases. See? So this is how, and aliases are defined in .ml, they don't have .ml file. So this is a major difference in terms of libraries. Not exactly copy-pastable, but if you copy-paste something like this here, there is a chance that Android Studio will ask you, do you want to convert? Not guaranteed, but sometimes it happens. So if you have no clue, try to do that. But better choice is to go to menu and project structure and import libraries that way. How we did it at the previous lesson. Project structure and add dependency, you will see. Or view video from this. It is the same. It is the same kind of GUI. I didn't change much. But business logic is a lot simpler. So just because the business logic is a lot simpler, they tried to put everything inside of view model. So they don't have, they still use state flow. Yeah, not still, they do use state flow. And just because they try to stick business logic in view model, their view model more complicated because everything is cluttered inside. Okay. If business logic is more complicated, definitely there's no chance to do it everything in view model. So you will really have to take it out. So you see, they have word and they shuffle, so directly shuffling in hard-coded. As they maintain score directly, you see current word count increment, so it's not score, it's number, like problem number. They increment it. They update score also by running increment somewhere when the answer is right. So this is a little entangled, honestly. I tried to simplify it by just doing similar thing, but I realized that let's take business logic out because it's kind of long, even for Word. For math, it is even longer because generating math problems is trickier than just picking around. They have all words stored in resource, some kind of array of those, or maybe even hard-coded array. I don't remember. And they just pick out of it and randomize order. So this is the essential idea. Which word is not remembered, so you cannot go back. It is generated, and if right or wrong, you click skip, it's lost. Currently, it is the same for math trainer. When you go to next problem, previous is lost. You cannot go back because it is generated each time on the screen. So there is no list of problems. If I want to display lists, I have to change business logic slightly to have a list of problems in it. Okay. Okay. And now, GUI is the same, except I have some toolbar on top. So let's talk a little bit about business logic, where it is different. Previously, I have an algebra problem. It was abstract class referring to generic algebra problem. And I had multiplication problem, and I had addition problem and subtraction problem in separate files. So I had two files for implementation of abstract class. What does it mean, abstract? It means you cannot create instance directly from it. You have to inherit from it and create instance from child class. Addition problem and subtraction problem were defined outside of the file. So this is why I couldn't use sealed, and sealed means implementation of this class is in the same file or directly even inside of class itself, which is special case of the same file. Okay? If we use keyword sealed, abstract keyword is optional. If you type it, Android Studio will say it is extra. You don't need to. So since I'm using sealed class, I don't need to specify explicitly that it is abstract. So this part is different. And besides additional problem, I have in subtraction, I also created multiplication and division. That's just copy-paste with small changes. As you see, there is no logic to generate them. It is just how to display it as a string, and what is the answer is calculated from two two data fields. Okay? Now, previously I had only one problem factory. This is interface, and interface requires only one method, create random problem. And I had implementation algebra problem factory, and I had if logic inside. If it is true, addition problem. If it is false, subtraction problem. Since now I have 4 kinds of problems, I decided, okay, let's do separation of concerns. Since different problems requires different kind of generation of them. So I passed it random, and I created 4 factories depending on problem, because there are different logic to make it. Okay. And now I have 4 factories, and it is just iteration, just common sense, trial and error to have sensible problems, so it's not difficult to solve. There is no settings for it. Here it means parameters are hard-coded. If we have a settings screen, yes?
If we want, can we make different files?
You mean different for that?
Because you made like a lot of classes in one file. So if we want, can we just make different files?
You can move this into different files. This one, because this is not sealed. If it is sealed, it has to be in the same file. No. Sorry, I said it wrong. If you say it's sealed, it won't make any difference, because additional problem factory is not inheriting from algebra problem factory. It is inheriting from problem factory. So it's okay if you move it out. No change. Okay? Sealed is extra condition inheriting in the same file. Okay? This is not even inheritance from algebra problem. Technically, additional problem is algebra problem, but I decided not to inherit from it. It doesn't give me anything extra if I inherit from it. So random choice for integer between 1 and 5 in case of 5 is not included. So it ends with 4. I will end up with equal probability of those problems by calling different factories for it. Now, also for business logic, this is how to create problem. For business logic, I also created user problem, which is different from problem, which is tricky. I thought problem inside of the quiz, originally I thought that it is child class of a problem. No, it's not. And when I tried to do it as a child class of a problem, I ended up with messy code. And I started to wonder why it is messy code. And eventually I figured it out. That problem inside of a user quiz is not child of a problem from logical sense, because it contains user answer. And that makes it not a child. Why? Because if car is a vehicle, you add extra features car specific, it's still vehicle. But if it is problem in a quiz of specific user, it is not problem. It is problem problem is included in quiz of specific user. So it's not inheritance, this is aggregation from logical sense. Problem in the quiz of specific user is referring to problem, but it's not inheriting from it. So it is aggregation. So for this reason, I have user problem that is referring to problem, not inheriting from it, because it's a different kinds of object. Because it is quiz of specific user. It's not specific kind of mathematical problem. So it is aggregation. Sometimes difference between inheritance and aggregation is not immediately obvious, like in this case. But if it is not immediately obvious and we choose wrong choice, we'll end up with messy code. This is what my original choice, and later I realized that it's aggregation, it's not inheritance. So I aggregated it, and now it contains answer of a specific user. Okay, and set value customized setter, and when we set it, we also change status. Original status is not answered, other statuses is not answered, right answer, wrong answer, invalid input. So when we set value, we assign to the field and we change status. We check answer for the problem, and possible would be right, wrong, or invalid. So we change status of problem is a specific field, a specific user. Right, wrong, or invalid. If we assign null, because this is not null, we change it will be changed status to not answered. Okay, so I have reset that is assigning null, and it will change stored value to null, and it will also change flip status to not answered. It is just a reminder that assigning to the value even inside of the class is calling setter. So assigning null will call setter and flip two pieces, not just one. Since I had more classes, I created more tests, generated more tests. Here it is. In domain, I have tests for different problems, and I have tests for user problem, this one. How to add tests, it was explained before. Just the same idea, repeated. Right-click, generate test, and I added testing cases too, just to make sure its logic is right. I also created user quiz, and this is where I moved business logic from view model to have view model cleaner. I still have only one problem. It's not a list of problems, although it appears like you go to the next problem, but you don't. You actually create a new problem. Similar to original code from Google. It's new problem each time. But still I have counter here and end of the quiz logic here. So I don't have to have code to increment counts and check end of the quiz in view model. That makes my view model simpler. And also I maintain a number of correct answers in quiz. So that code is not in view model, so view model is simpler. So this was my rationale. I changed this yesterday because I realized that my view model contains too much business logic, so I decided, okay, let's create this one and create user problem to take business logic out. Also, this will help in history, because if we do history, we need to store right, wrong answer somewhere and this kind of objects. Mm-hmm. Questions? So submit answer takes user answer, store it locally, check it. This will flip status. So we check if status is right answer. If it is right answer, we go to next problem or end quiz. And increment score. What is go to next problem or increment quiz or end quiz? Because when we click submit and it is last problem, we do not create new one. So I have to deal with that logic. If problem number is equal to number of problems, it is not. It is the last one. In this case, I flip flag and quiz ends to true. If it's not the last problem, I make new problem and assign it to that and increment problem count. Previously, this was logic inside of ViewModel, even in original Google code. So this was creating clutter. So this is the reason why I took it out. Okay. Making new problem, it is calling constructor of user problem and calling factory create new random problem. Okay. Reset is creating new problem, resetting score to 0, problem number to 0, and quiz end to false. Okay. Skip problem, just do not touch counters for score, because score still the same when we skip it. So we call next problem or end. Next problem or end is incrementing problem number, creating new problem if it is not the last one. If it is last one, no increments, just flip quiz ended to true. Okay. So this logic now it is outside of ViewModel, so ViewModel is simpler in this sense. So let's see ViewModel. Problem, where's my ViewModel? ViewModel is inside of UI because it belongs to UI. So UI state first. UI state, quiz UI state is stored in ViewModel. So what do I store? Total number of problems. Actual problem because it needs to display it as a text. Current problem count because it is displayed in the corner of the screen. Score is displayed below your entry, current score. Wrong answer, if it is true, it will create red frame around your what you entered. So wrong answer will be triggered if it is bad input or wrong answer. So it is not the same logic, because in my business logic, I have wrong input and bad answer and wrong answer. In this case, it is either of these two. If you type 2 as wrong input, because answer is 4, it will trigger this as true. If you type blah, 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 it will also stay wrong answer. Technically, blah, 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 it's wrong answer, right? And so in this case, it's OK. Quiz ends will pop up dialog. Right? Done. OK?
So if we enter string, it won't show incorrect value. It will show wrong answer.
Yes, it will show wrong answer. I stick it to original logic. Technically, if you ask it 2 times 2 and you type blah, 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 it is still wrong answer. It is incorrect input, but wrong answer is more, it is wrong answer, right? Blah, blah, blah. So in this case, I don't distinguish it because action inside of the screen is the same. If on blah, 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 and on 4, on 6, if it is answer is 4. So this is state of the screen, essentially, not state of business logic, it is state of the screen. Now let's go to ViewModel. State is stored here and starting with some default state. Make quiz UI state. So what does it do? Make quiz UI state. Here it is, I'm calling constructor. From quiz, number of problems. From count, problem count, it is problem number. For problem that is displayed, it is user problem, and it contains math problem inside. So it is picking data from the quiz. Quiz score is goes to score, and this is the logic what I just mentioned. Wrong answer is true when status is either wrong answer or invalid. Otherwise, it is false. this is what I explained. So it creates red frame and say wrong answer, depending on if it cannot convert to number, which is invalid input, or it is valid input but wrong input. Okay. In both cases, this will be true, otherwise it is false. And quiz ended if it is quiz ended inside of the quiz business logic. So I'm hiding all business logic inside of user quiz object, which is here. I still need to react to user inputs. Okay? And what user just typed needs to be stored somewhere. And this is what Google did. It is just separate variable. So I'm not updating UI state at the time of user typing. It will be updated only on submit. So this one, it is still state, but this state will update just what you type on the screen, this one. And it's not part of this one. Although logically it is, but practically it's not. It's not stored there. It was in original Google code this way, and decided, okay, this is shorter code definitely, and this, I will keep this. String, what is typed on the screen, is not stored in my UI state. I store only user related to what is when you click submit, after it was submitted. Update answer, also call it on each click or on each typing. Like you type 96, it will be call it on 9 and on 6 as you type. So this is happening a lot. So this update a lot. But this will change only on submit or skip problem. A reset game is resetting quiz and making state based on the quiz. So this logic is short. On skip, when you skip problem, you need to clear the screen. So this is setting update answer input to empty string. So what is displayed as empty screen? And then I call user quiz skip problem and make new state based on current quiz state. And on submit, the same. Quiz submit problem, make quiz state based on UI state based on quiz state. So I took this logic out. And when I submit, I also clean screen. Okay, and this is called this make UI state. I'm not completely sure about this part. What if I submit wrong answer? Should I clean screen or not? It really depends. It will clean screen. And I'm not sure if it is a great idea. We need to think if it is the best, but this is how its current behavior. On submit,
For the right answer,
it is only for right answer. It should clean, right? Because it goes to next. We may think about it. It makes sense to clear screen only when it is right answer, because you go to next one. So we can add additional if for it. Clear screen only when it is right answer. Okay? Because currently the logic is that clear it anyway. But what if it is wrong? You want to see what you typed, which is wrong, obviously. It's not difficult change. We need to put additional if around this one.
so if it is wrong, it is asking for answer it again. staying on the same thing.
Okay, let's try. Let's put wrong answer, 56. Hopefully, yes, it's definitely wrong. Submit. Wrong answer, try again. So it does disappear. And it's not displaying it, maybe it's okay. So when you click on it, you type it, you don't need to delete old one. Otherwise, you would have to delete old one. So currently, it's okay. Maybe we want to display what was wrong answer and actual answer. But it should disappear here, because why would we delete it? Have to delete it manually. So clearing it makes sense. Maybe we want to display it below, like wrote answer and number what you just typed, something like that. Yeah, clearing this makes sense, because there is a message there. See? When you start typing, message disappears because it's labeled. Yeah, it makes sense. So I won't touch it. It's okay. In the history, like when you have a list of the problems, it makes sense to display maybe what was actual user answer. Because it is stored, so it's not lost. It is stored in user problem. And if quiz is implemented as list of problems in it, list of user problems, not just current problem, it is stored. So I will keep it for now. Okay. UI state, this one, it is just like in original Google. I just rename it. It's probably number of words. I change it to number of problems. It was game UI state. I changed it to quiz UI state. So it is similar. And GUI is extremely similar. I copy-pasted almost everything. And GUI is displaying this data class. That is just the same class, but renamed things. I changed it, I wrote quiz ended Boolean. They had it is game over Boolean, which is just different name. Okay. So I honestly didn't touch GUI much, except this part. Later I will need to put some kind of navigation and add menu, because this is not really menu, it's just one button. And menu will have some option like see history, whatever, or navigation, see history, something like that. I plan to keep it in terms of displaying lists, like, so see all problems. You click on the problem, it will take you to this page to enter answer. Because if we skip it, we'll have no chance to go back, because it generates new problem and overrides existing one. But if problems are stored in a list, this way we can go back and forth. We will definitely need back button in this case. Like here, two buttons. One, it is back. One, it is submit. And if it is submitted, we can skip it. Maybe skip will be changed label. We can change label on skip if it is already submitted and just call it next, whatever. So it's definitely more than one evening, but it's fun. Okay, so let's see what we have in app root screen. I just renamed it. It was something else. And this is how Google does with view models. They call view model as default parameter. Okay, I'm not sure why there is no highlighting in this moment. There is highlighting. Yeah, there is highlighting. but this is not highlighted. Maybe I need to stop it and resynchronize. This is why. Because this is not syntactically highlighted. This should be different color, right? Anyway, this happens a lot in Google. So they just call function and provide view model as default parameter. This function call is default parameter. Doesn't give any obvious advantages, but they keep doing it, so why not? This idea fails miserably if we want to use Hilt view model and create preview. It just doesn't do it in preview. So they had to go around and create another function inside just for sake of preview. First thing, we see dimension resource. Previously, we didn't. We saw string resource. We saw what other resources? Some other resources. Okay, like drawable resource and dimension resource. Dimension resource is value, also value like a string, and we can make dimensions per language, like per locale, and per screen size as well. So it is one of the primitive ways to adjust stuff on the screen, to change dimensions based on current situation, screen sizes and locale. This file is called demens, I believe demens. It is in resources. So resources, values, and demens, here it is. So they define it medium padding this way in DP. Okay. As a GUI, options are not different from what we saw. It's composable inside of composable, inside of composable, and data is hoisted from down up. So, no, hoisted from down up, so data is propagating from top to bottom, and lambda functions or actions, events propagating down up. So it is unidirectional data flow and single source of truth. In this case, truth is stored inside of quiz, user quiz, it's called. Yes, I call it user quiz. This is single source of truth. It owns the data, everything else is copying it. Definitely, it should be some kind of persistence. So in final version, because when we close up or open it, we want to continue quiz, working on the quiz. In this case, all data is lost when we close up. It's not stored. It is preserved during rotation because view model is referring to the object quiz. It's created inside of view model, and view model is preserved during rotation, but it's not persisting when we close up. Now we have about 5 minutes before end of the class. Please ask questions. And if no questions, very strong advice, start working on your assignment as early as possible. If you don't feel like coding tonight, watch those videos, because I asked you to watch videos about customization of the appearance of the app using themes. It is independent from your coding, so you can watch that. And so when you want to apply it in into your code, you don't have to watch these videos. So you already have ideas. Okay. That unit 3, it is quite long, but you don't have to do every step together with them. Just get ideas, watch videos. Videos are fun. And the lady who is teaching this unit 4, she's unit 3. She's energetic, positive, shiny. You watch her and your mood goes up. Okay? You just get charge of energy from her. So it is absolutely positive experience. Please watch it. Okay? You will enjoy. She's very nice and so positive, like a battery. Okay? Sunshine. Okay? So we need to finish like in 5 minutes. Any questions?
So in this code, the only way to skip to the next question is by clicking the skip button.
Yes. What you?
If we want to give the wrong value and submit it, and we want to go to the next question.
You can skip it. Yeah.
Without skipping it.
Yes. Skip will walk to next problem and it will lose all data for current one. It does not keep any history because it stores only current problem, and when you skip, it creates new one. I borrowed this logic from original because it was simpler. In original code, it was everything in view model, so they couldn't put a log because otherwise they will have insanely huge file. And I just separate this logic into quiz, so I have a simpler view model code. But it's still a similar idea: skip button and submit button. It is better to store a list of problems, so you can go back. And I did. You answer wrong, you skip it, you go back, and you answer later. If we implement this logic, quiz should store list of problems, not just current one. I just stayed compliant with original version because I wanted to keep the GUI, essentially. But if we have a go back, we will definitely need back button in some kind of back button. So I plan to do it by next lesson when we're dealing with navigation. It makes sense to have it.
Navigation for the rock paper scissors next week?
Yes, there is navigation version there. It will be the first to start because that is simpler. In this case, address will not contain data because there is no extra data. If we have a list, navigation will contain data. It is item ID that you click it. So when you navigate, it will have some ID in it, right? In the data of the address. Okay. You know, it is imitation of web addresses. Sometimes web addresses do contain data. For example, you see continue and something is signed. So addresses sometimes contain data like this. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Done. It's already time. Okay.